People talk about movies, movie trailers, trailers for the trailer you are already watching. But no one talks about the one thing all these trailers have in common. That's right, thumbnails. A good thumbnail gets people to click. Those clicks lead to views, which leads to more people staying on YouTube, which means more ads shoved into our faces like that chocolate cake in Matilda. So you would think that all movie trailer thumbnails would be mind-blowing, masterfully crafted, engaging works of art, right? As we'll learn together in this video, that's not always the case. Now, I don't claim to be an expert, but I did waste 4 years of my life at an art college, so I think I have some authority on composition, negative space, and other artsy-fartsy terms. A few days ago, the trailer for the hotly anticipated sequel to Wicked came out, and when it launched, this was the thumbnail. If you're sitting there thinking, what's wrong with that? I'll tell you what's wrong with that. Never mind this weird gradient at the very top, which serves no purpose whatsoever. Never mind that their feet are cropped off at the bottom. Never mind that the iconic yellow brick road looks all smudgy for some reason. But you have international superstars Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo, and you make them so small I can't even see their faces. Then you have the Emerald City right behind them, which is already so visually busy that putting them in front of all that, everything gets lost in a mush of colors. You see, when you're trying to come up with a good thumbnail, you want to make sure that if you squint or shrink it way down, that you can still tell who's who and what's going on. Legibility is so important in any image, let alone a thumbnail, let alone as a marketing tool for a blockbuster movie. You can't mess that stuff up. This is different from the Furious 7 trailer thumbnail that looked like this. Even though the main cast was super tiny in the distance, what is this, a thumbnail for ants? It was fine, because the overall concept was unique. Having the car be the main focus, up front and in your face, made it stand out against other Fast and Furious thumbnails. The striking black and white, the clear framing, compared to that, this reads as an accident and doesn't really stand out at all. But a few days later, Universal updated their thumbnail to this. Much better. Just like the thumbnails for the first Wicked's trailers, I can clearly see the two main characters now. They're much bigger in frame, the background, while still busy, is more thoughtfully laid out in relation to the foreground. Kinda bothers my OCD brain they're not centered along with the text, but I'll allow it. And speaking of text, the placement of it is also something movie studios get wrong sometimes. Just like characters, you want to make sure the words are as clear as possible. You want to make sure that if your text is all a maroon type color, with texture and shaping no less, maybe you don't want to put it over a dark tree, because by the time an image like this reaches mobile platforms like phones or tablets, the words Madam Web easily get lost. Same thing with the How to Train Your Dragon thumbnail. If most of your title is in a super thin font, putting it in front of some clouds won't make it any easier to read. Granted, no one's really reading this to begin with. They're looking at the title on YouTube. But at that point, just take the text out altogether. Make Toothless bigger in frame. That's what I would have done. On the other end of the spectrum is the Smurfs movie that came out a few months ago. Did you watch it? That's great. But leading up to the release, their teaser trailer thumbnail looked like this. I know I just said text has to be easy to read, but damn. I mean, it's chunky and clear, at least I can see it from a mile away. But is putting Rihanna is Smurfette really a selling point? I want to see the Venn diagram of people who grew up watching the Smurfs and people who listen to Rihanna. I don't think there's much crossover there. All these other whimsical, kid-friendly CG movies have star-studded casts too, like Chris Pratt as Garfield, Kim Kardashian as Dolores, and Zendaya as Michi. But they'll usually put those names at the end of the trailer, you know, where they go boom, 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 $500 million budget. But to put this so blatantly in the thumbnail, covering like a whole quadrant of the entire image, and putting Rihanna's name in the actual trailer title, tells me they were betting it all on one big name to carry the entire movie. Well, wait a second. I was just talking out of my ass. But apparently, even the Wikipedia page says the Rihanna marketing was too much. Maybe we could have known earlier what people thought about it, if they had opened up comments. Paramount Pictures, you cowards. Now, speaking of big names selling your movie, the new trailer for Anaconda came out recently, and this was the thumbnail. Compared to what we've seen so far, this one is actually pretty effective. Right away, we got no problem seeing Paul Rudd and Jack Black's big-ass faces. These two movie stars have charmed their way into our hearts for decades now, and even though one of them has starred in the definitive domino piece that has toppled our collective interest in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they've always managed to come out on top. So it's no wonder the executives at Sony put their glistening, unproblematic faces right on the thumbnail. And this seems to be the go-to method for any trailer launch these days. The Marvels? Get Brie Larson. Mission Impossible? Get Tom Cruise. Red Notice? Get these three numbnuts for the 100th time. Why think any harder than you have to when your famous movie stars can get butts in seats? But recently, that way of thinking has sort of made a few thumbnails feel lazy. Fantastic Four First Steps is guilty of this. While the teaser thumbnail was great, showed off all 4 characters, gave you a clear idea of the look and feel of the movie, this one for the official trailer has always bothered me. There's no mystery, there's no intrigue, it's just Pedro Pascal standing there. Obviously he's a big selling point, But Marvel really just settled on the most random frame ever, didn't they? And maybe I'm the only person in the world who's bothered by this, but if you're gonna make this the official trailer thumbnail, get this lady out of there. Like, you don't see a random henchman in the back of the Brave New World thumbnail, or an extra in the back of this Lilo and Stitch thumbnail. It draws your eyes for no reason. Have there just be one singular focus. Everything else is a potential distraction. Again, maybe that's just me and I'm a weirdo like that, but if I've learned anything over the years, make everything as clear as possible. Treat your audience like they're dumb. Oh wait, not you guys though. You guys are the best. Thank you for watching, by the way. And while we're talking about using random frames for a thumbnail, it can be done as long as it's telling a story. That Madam Web one from earlier, where Dakota Johnson is just standing behind a spider web? Yeah, that didn't tell me anything. Unless she was in the Amazon with her mom, researching spiders, right before she died. What I mean is that the thumbnail has to pull you right into a specific moment, make you feel what the character is feeling. Like this thumbnail for The Mandalorian and Grogu, where he's about to pull this lever and fly off into some wacky adventure. This frame alone gets you pumped, and I can't wait to watch this when it hits Disney+. I mean, theaters worldwide. This thumbnail for the Superman teaser also told a story. It told you that at some point in the movie, people were gonna hate him, throw cans at the back of his head and shit. They had all these cool moments to choose from, but they went with this instead because it shows Superman as beat up and broken, thus making you the viewer connect to him on a deeper level. Same with the official trailer thumbnail. They chose this quiet moment between him and Pa Kent, even though they had all these other money shots in their back pocket. That's a level of restraint we don't see too much with comic book movies. Superheroes are usually lined up like action figures, so seeing Superman like this was pretty refreshing. On the flip side of that is the Spider-Verse movies, whose thumbnails always manage to choose the most colorful, dynamic, and exhilarating moments possible. So you see, random frames can and usually work, but occasionally you might get thumbnails that are unintentionally hilarious. Like no one at the movie studio bothered to double check it before they hit publish. The trailer for the next Pixar movie Hoppers came out recently, and while it looks like a fun time, the thumbnail look like this. I'm not the only one seeing this, right? In the trailer, this moment is totally innocent, but why you gotta park on this one frame as the official thumbnail for this movie trailer? For your first impression to the entire world. Literally anything would have been better than this. Or with the Star Wars movies, all the thumbnails have been pretty decent. Daisy Ridley looks thoughtful, determined, but for the final trailer for Rise of Skywalker, amid an epic fight sequence where she's facing off against Kylo Ren on the crashing waves, they went with this, where she looks like she just woke up from a nap, and you scared her when you opened the door at the same time. Oh, I'm sorry, you gave me a fright. I didn't see you there. And I love Andor more than I can put into words. K2 smacking that ISB officer off the bridge will forever live in my head. But when they released the trailer for Season 2, the thumbnail looked like this. Again, it might just be me, but do these things in the background totally look like pizzas or what? Delicious pepperoni pizzas. Tell me in the comments I'm not the only one. So if you're gonna settle on any random frame for the trailer thumbnail, just think twice about it. That's all I'm asking. For the most part, movie studios have figured out what works for their thumbnails. Star power, recognizable faces, bright colors, dynamic poses, but occasionally they'll make some truly bizarre decisions. In a world where millions of eyeballs can and will judge them, they probably shouldn't muddy up text, or shrink things down too much, or grab the absolute worst frame to blast out to the world. With billions of dollars in the box office on the line, they really should be more careful with what they put out there. Hire better designers, work closer with their marketing team, maybe send an email company-wide and ask everyone, even the janitors, hey, how does this look? Get more eyes on it. With thumbnails, the more feedback you have, the better. After all, they're the one and only thing between your trailer and the rest of the world. Gotta make sure they're flawless. Anyway, thank you for listening to me ramble. Hey, subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video.